Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw recap and results video. And my god, this show tonight was absolutely dreadful. This show was boring. It was fucking terrible. It's what I say about Monday Night Raw every week. I mean, they just put no effort into these shows. None. We're 3 weeks away from TLC, and from what I read in the dirt sheets in an article, Vince already has 4 matches put on the TLC card, or plan to put on the TLC card. We don't have no announcement of a tables, ladders, and chairs match, or a tables match, a ladder match, a gimmick match for the pay-per-view. So Vince only approved of 4 matches for TLC. And there is news that broke out in the dirt sheets. I read in an article. I got it up here on my phone. So apparently WWE was forced to make changes to Monday Night Raw this week that were well beyond their control. And that's no surprise. Well, it says right here, according to Fightful, the final draft for this week's show wasn't handed in until 25 minutes before the show started. I ain't surprised by that. It's typical Vince McMahon right there. You know, how he doesn't like something that creative put in the script, and he rewrites the whole script. He makes creative rewrite the whole script. It's typical Vince. So, but also it stated that it was said that the last couple of weeks have also seen some considerable changes. Well, we've seen the changes. Look at SmackDown. Not having matches announced till like 6 minutes to the show, which we got this past Friday. So, it's nothing, I said, it's no surprise to anybody. So it said it was reported that some of those changes were well beyond WWE's control. So that was the news about that, but no surprise whatsoever. So, but let's get on with the recap and results for Monday Night Raw. So Monday Night Raw opened up tonight with a moment of piss with Alexa Bliss, which Alexa Bliss is one of the best things on Monday Night Raw. So she ended up introducing her guest, who was Randy Orton. So Randy Orton ended up coming out. We saw a recap from last week where The Fiend ended up costing Randy Orton his spot in the triple threat, which was happening later on in the night, where The Fiend ended up helping Styles beat Orton last week. So after that, we saw Alexa Bliss end up saying that she can't believe Bray Wyatt would do that, and doesn't know why he did. Orton ended up saying that he has known Bray Wyatt for a long time, but he hasn't formally met The Fiend yet. So Alexa ended up saying that The Fiend is her best friend. Orton went on to say that he and The Fiend actually have a lot in common. So we see Orton end up mentioning how they both hear voices, but Bray Wyatt hears him. Orton ended up mentioning finding Bray Wyatt's weakness and vulnerability years ago when he ended up burning it down, which he was referring to, of course, the Wyatt compound, which he lit on fire. That was back in 2016 on SmackDown. Of course, Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt went at it before. They had their WrestleMania 33 match. So Orton ended up saying now he needs to figure out the Fiend's weakness. He ended up saying that it looks like he has found the Fiend's weakness. So Alexa Bliss was shown standing up. She ended up asking Orton if that's what the voices are saying, or are they telling lies? So Alexa Bliss was standing right up on Randy Orton. She was staring at him. The lights start to go down in the Amway Center or in the Thunderdome. So Orton ended up asking, "See what I mean?" More lights started to go down. Alexa Bliss also asked, "See what I mean?" So it was all dark now. And then the red lights, the Virtual Boy red lighting came on. We heard the sounds of the Fiend. So Alexa Bliss was in Randy Orton's arms. The Fiend ended up entering the ring. The Fiend stares Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton down. The Fiend ended up reaching out for Randy Orton to hand Alexa Bliss to him. Orton then ended up handing Alexa Bliss to the Fiend. And then he ended up rolling out the ring. Orton ended up asking them, "Who is laughing now?" So the Fiend was watching with Alexa Bliss, which Alexa Bliss was in his arms. And Orton was shown staring down at Alexa Bliss and the Fiend from the stage. And that was basically that. But set up for Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt, the Fiend. So there you go. Are you all excited to see Randy Orton and the Fiend go at it? So then we saw the Symphony of Destruction, Jeff Hardy versus Elias. Once again, Jeff Hardy and Elias going at it. I'm like, why are they fighting? Why are they fighting? Clearly WWE forgot, about their storyline that they did with somebody run over Elias. And, they said that Jeff Hardy, was behind the wheel, but Jeff Hardy didn't run over Elias. It was somebody who had red hair. So WWE clearly forgot about that. And so then they made Jeff Hardy and Elias, go at it, feud together. Which I'm like, why? Doesn't make any sense. So, but this match was okay, in my opinion. It wasn't great. It wasn't great by any means. But, of course, there was one part in the match where we had R-Truth hiding in like a piano, under a piano lid. And then we had the circus run out, Akira Tozawa, Eric of the Viking Raiders, Drew Gulak, and Grand Metalik. They all came down chasing R-Truth. Like I said, the circus came down for, to get R-Truth, the Jobber Ninja Turtle 24/7 title. We had Drew Gulak end up getting back body dropped by Jeff Hardy on the outside. Grand Metalik also got dropped by, Jeff Hardy and Elias. Lince Dorado ended up coming down to check on Grand Metalik. Jeff Hardy then delivered a shot to Drew Gulak's back with the guitar. And then Elias ended up also dropping Lince Dorado with a guitar shot, which Elias ended up laying Lince Dorado on top of Grand Metalik. And then that Monday Night Raw went to commercial. So at the end of the match, you had Jeff Hardy end up going up to the top, and he ended up delivering the Swanton Bomb onto Elias, and they went through the table. Elias was laid up on the table. So that's when Jeff Hardy ended up delivering the Swanton, which then put Elias through the table. So Jeff Hardy ended up going for the cover. There you go. Jeff Hardy ended up winning the match. There was also a part where Elias ended up shoving the wood from the guitar into a speaker, which caused the speaker to pop and spark, which ended up electrocuting Elias. So that was that. But overall, it was an okay match. It wasn't, great by any means. So then we saw Keith Lee. He was warming up backstage. Matt Riddle ended up walking in. Matt Riddle ended up going on about being excited and nervous. And he ended up mentioning throwing up his breakfast earlier, which I'm like, why would you say that? Why would you mention throwing up your breakfast? Nobody wants to hear that. So he ended up mentioning Keith Lee already having a WWE Championship shot earlier this year. And he ended up saying that he hasn't had his yet. So Matt Riddle ended up doing a bad impression of Drew McIntyre. And then he looked over to see if Keith Lee can do a better impression of Drew McIntyre, but Keith Lee already left. So that was that. And then we had Mustafa Ali backstage with Retribution. He ended up cutting a promo on Ricochet and how everything that's happened to Ricochet has already happened to them and how he's supposed to be standing with them. Slapjack ended up speaking, and he ended up talking about how when everyone else discarded him, Mustafa Ali saw him as a weapon for Retribution. Mustafa Ali ended up saying that Ricochet decided against joining the group. So tonight's Slapjack will make him face the consequences. And maybe, just maybe, Ricochet will see what he sees, what Mustafa Ali sees. So that was what Mustafa Ali had to say. And then we have Ricochet versus Slapjack, which this was a very meh match. We had Mason T-Bar ended up getting involved in the match. Mustafa Ali also was out there. Mason T-Bar ended up again involved from the ring apron, which they ended up getting taken out by Ricochet. Slapjack ended up rolling up Ricochet for the win. So there you go. Slapjack ended up winning the match. Post-match, you had Mustafa Ali and Retribution. They ended up surrounding Ricochet, taunting him. So overall, very meh match. Then we had Miz TV, which the Miz and Morrison were in the ring. They ended up introducing a guest who was Sheamus. So Miz and Morrison ended up trying to stir the pot by saying that McIntyre forgot about Sheamus and that Sheamus has been jealous. Sheamus ended up saying that they're like brothers, him and Drew McIntyre. Miz ends up telling Sheamus to save the sappy stuff. And he ended up saying that McIntyre has something he and Sheamus both want, and that is the WWE Championship. Morrison ended up saying that if they were really brothers, like Sheamus says, McIntyre would have given Sheamus a shot at the WWE Championship already. Miz ended up saying that when he cashes in and wins the title, Morrison will receive a title shot right away, because that's what friends do. So Miz ends up proposing that Sheamus cash in years of aggression, while Miz ends up cashing in his briefcase. So Sheamus was just laughing at the Miz. Miz ended up asking Sheamus what it feels like to know McIntyre is at the top and he's at the bottom. So Miz ends up yelling at Sheamus about how his career is a joke now. So Sheamus ends up staring up and he ends up staring Miz down. Sheamus ended up saying that that's the difference between him and the Miz, because the Miz will run his mouth. And Sheamus ended up saying that he likes to use his hands. So Sheamus ended up dropping the Miz with the right hand, but Morrison ended up trying to save it, and Sheamus ended up fighting Morrison off. So the Miz ends up, hitting Sheamus with the briefcase. So Miz ended up beating Sheamus down with the briefcase, and pretty much that was that. But overall, just awful Miz TV, awful segment. And then we had Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Asuka and Lana. This was fucking terrible. This was absolutely awful. Lana and Asuka end up winning the match because you had Shayna Baszler end up taking Lana down into the Karafuda clutch. Asuka ends up running in and delivers a Shining Wizard to break up the Karafuda clutch. And it allowed Lana to make the cover on Shayna Baszler. Unbelievable. How you have Lana pin Shayna Baszler. Awful. Absolutely fucking awful. But just overall, fucking terrible match. So then after that, we had Drew McIntyre end up approaching Sheamus backstage. Sheamus was upset about what happened on Miz TV. And he was joking and thanking McIntyre for helping him out. Sheamus ended up saying that if the roles were reversed, he'd do the same. So McIntyre ended up getting Sheamus hyped up and asked if he's ready to knock the heads off those two Muppets, known as The Miz and John Morrison. Sheamus ended up saying that was just the appetizer, and that he's ready for the main course. So that was that. And then we had Xavier Woods versus Cedric Alexandra. Before the match got underway, the New Day was on the mic. Kofi ended up talking about Xavier Woods being signed by G4 because G4 is coming back next year. G4, channel, is relaunching. I remember G4, it was a video game network, which had like X-Play, Attack of the Show. It was a good channel up until they started doing reruns of Cops every single day and all this other programming, like they had Star Trek on there, and mostly shows that had nothing to do with gaming. So but hopefully when G4 comes back next year, hopefully it just sticks to being all about gaming. Not having to see, reruns of Cops or Star Trek. You had Lost on there. You had Heroes on there, so. But don't want to see, Cops on G4, when it comes back. Let's stick to, gaming. So, but, good that Xavier Woods, is signed by G4. So Xavier Woods ends up saying that he is a future King of the Ring. And he ended up talking about his love of video games. Xavier Woods ended up thanking everyone who supported Up, Up, Down, Down, which of course is his gaming channel here on YouTube. So Kofi and Xavier end up going on about how the Hurt Business has failed to capture the Raw Tag Team Championships several times. So we saw, recaps of, the matches with the New Day and the Hurt Business. So they end up getting interrupted by the Hurt Business. We had Cedric Alexandra, Shelton Benjamin, and MVP out there. Bobby Lashley was nowhere out there. He didn't even come out. MVP ended up talking about how the series is actually tied up 2-2. MVP ended up saying that the next time the New Day is willing to put the championships on the line, their historic reign will seem like a distant dream. So Shelton Benjamin ended up saying, not only will they take the titles, they will hurt the New Day. So then Cedric Alexander ended up rushing into the ring. He got in Xavier Woods' face, saying that it was pure dumb luck that they got over on Shelton last week. So Cedric ended up attacking Xavier Woods from behind before the bell rang. Cedric ended up beating Xavier Woods down, and he yells at him. The referee ended up getting in between them. So Monday Night Raw went to commercial, and then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Xavier Woods was unloading on Cedric Alexandra in the corner. And the match itself, it was just very meh, in my opinion. So basically what WWE is telling us that, Xavier ended up taking on Cedric Alexandra tonight. Are we going to get Kofi versus Shelton Benjamin next week? And then we're going to have Xavier Woods versus Bobby Lashley the following week after that, or have Kofi face Bobby Lashley. So that's what WWE is trying to tell us. Oh, we're going to get one-on-one matches with one person from the New Day and one person from the Hurt Business. But in the end, Cedric Alexandra ended up winning the match, where he ended up delivering the lumbar check to Xavier Woods. So there you go. Cedric Alexandra ended up winning the match. Overall, just very meh match. So then we had the sudden death triple threat match. Keith Lee versus Matt Riddle versus AJ Styles. The winner of this match will get to face Drew McIntyre at TLC for the WWE Championship. But you knew who was going to win this match. Keith Lee. If you all thought that Keith Lee was going to win or Matt Riddle was going to win, you all were wrong. You all were wrong. Who do you think WWE gave the win? Of course, Styles. But this match was a pretty good match here. I don't know why this wasn't the main event to the show tonight. This should have been the main event, because this was a very good match where we had all three of these guys go back and forth, and they end up delivering, all three of them, in this match. Keith Lee, I forgot to mention, Keith Lee got his new entrance music, which he got it last week. I gotta say, his new entrance music is so much better than the entrance music or the theme music that he had previously, which was god-awful. But Keith Lee has much better entrance music here. But in the end, Styles ended up winning, where we had Matt Riddle end up striking Keith Lee, but it angered him. It angered Keith Lee. It was back and forth between Matt Riddle and Keith Lee. Matt Riddle ended up leveling Keith Lee with a kick. And then Matt Riddle was just standing there, and then he just took the phenomenal forearm from Styles. So Styles went for the cover. And there you go. Styles is the number one contender to face Drew McIntyre at TLC for the WWE Championship. So obviously predictable. We all know that Styles was going to win. But overall, very good match, which should have been the main event. Oh, and they actually changed Styles' manager's name, Jordan Amabian. Now they're calling him Amos. There you go. Now they're calling Jordan Amabian Amos. So that's his new name. So then we had Dana Brooke versus Reckoning, a.k.a. Mia Yim, which this was her in-ring debut tonight on Monday Night Raw. So the match started off with Mia Yim, Reckoning, attacking Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke ended up coming back and started unloading on Reckoning. And of course, Reckoning's mask fell off. And of course, it's Mia Yim. So now it's Mia Yim versus Dana Brooke. because of the mask falling off her. But in the end, Dana Brooke got the win, rolled up Reckoning Mia Yim. There you go. Overall, this was a god-awful match. Absolutely terrible. Post-match, you had Mustafa Ali yelling at Reckoning. Mustafa Ali ended up yelling about Reckoning failing and her allowing Dana Brooke to embarrass him. Mustafa Ali ends up yelling at Reckoning, saying that there is no failing in Retribution. So that was that. But overall, terrible match. So we had The Miz and Morrison end up approaching Styles and Omos backstage. The Miz was congratulating Styles on earning the WWE Championship shot. So Miz and Morrison end up bringing Styles a peach pie to celebrate with, and as an offering to help Miz when he cashes in his Money in the Bank briefcase. So Styles ends up saying that he will help the Miz cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase. So Miz ends up asking why Styles is so willing to help them. Styles ends up saying that it will be a lot easier to beat the Miz at TLC instead of Drew McIntyre. So that was that. But when Miz and Morrison bought Styles that pie, I thought Styles was going to come back and pie the Miz or Morrison in the face. But, we didn't get that. And then Matt Riddle was shown backstage recovering. MVP ended up walking up to him, asking what happened out there. Matt Riddle ended up saying that losing sucks. So he started pitching some ideas to MVP. He was pitching MVP some ideas of a stoner business. So MVP ended up believing that Matt Riddle's ideas are dumb. MVP then ended up putting his hands on Matt Riddle. And then we see Bobby Lashley end up attacking Matt Riddle from behind. And he ends up manhandling Matt Riddle. Lashley ended up laying Matt Riddle out and stood over him with MVP, laughing. And I'm like, where was Bobby Lashley when MVP and Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexandra came out? Where was he during Xavier Woods and Cedric's match? How come he wasn't out there? Beats me. Beats me why Lashley wasn't out there during Cedric and Xavier Woods' match. So now we have the main event. Sheamus and Drew McIntyre versus The Miz and John Morrison. This was just a very meh match. This was not that good of a match. We had Styles on commentary here. There was a point where Sheamus and Omos was there. Omos was, right at Sheamus there. And the end of the match, Drew McIntyre and Sheamus ended up winning the match because you had Styles end up leaping into the ring, and he delivered a phenomenal forearm to McIntyre, which McIntyre was distracted. So the referee ended up calling for the bell. Post-match, you had Styles end up arguing with The Miz and Morrison. Styles ended up telling Morrison to hit a Starship Pain on McIntyre, which Morrison eventually does. And Miz ended up dropping McIntyre with the skull-crushing finale. Omos then ends up grabbing the Money in the Bank briefcase, hands it to Styles, and he hands it to the referee. Miz ends up grabbing it from Styles, and he ends up yelling at him. So Miz reconsiders, and he wants to cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase. But McIntyre ends up getting up. He ends up sending Morrison out to the floor. And then McIntyre ends up leveling The Miz with a Claymore. So The Miz never cashed in the briefcase. It wasn't announced by Mike Rome. So McIntyre ended up staring Styles down. Styles ended up pleading with McIntyre, which almost ended up pulling Styles to safety. He was carrying Styles on his shoulder, ranting at McIntyre. And Styles was saying that almost is doing McIntyre a favor because Styles would have taken him out. So McIntyre then ends up raising the WWE Championship, and he ends up telling Styles this is the closest he'll get to the WWE Championship. And then he said something funny about Jackass and the Beanstalk, which made me laugh. But that was Monday Night Raw. That was how Monday Night Raw went off the air tonight. Overall, terrible show. Very dreadful show. But anyways, that's it for the Monday Night Raw recap and results video. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all later.